I'm not on mute. I thought I was on mute. The joys of doing shows on your own. Anyway, hello everyone. Welcome. I'm Julianne Meyer, and you are watching Own Your Wellness. And happy almost New Year! Yay! You know what that means? New year, new start. I know it's just a number on a calendar, but for a lot of us, myself included, it really kind of signifies like the starting of something new. So I really wanted to talk today about fear. I know, dreaded fear, and about how to, walk through that, or maybe even change the way you perceive it and feel it. Actually, feel that in your body. But first, I got to share a little story with you guys because, whew. All right. So, for those of you who watch on a regular basis, you know I wasn't here on Monday, Boxing Day, because I was traveling back from Washington State from visiting my family, and long story short, we're at the airport and our flight's delayed 2 hours. We finally board, and all the luggage is loaded, everything. And then 10 minutes after we're supposed to leave, they say, oops, sorry, your flight's canceled. So dun dun dun. We get off the flight, and we hop into this line. It's literally 8 hours to wait in line. Insane. And I was like, looking on my phone with my fiance, and we're like trying to figure out alternate ways to get home. We ended up driving from Washington State all the way down to Southern California. All in all, it was about 1,300 miles. No real stops, just for food and gas. So wasn't probably the safest thing to do, but we got home in 24 hours. So, and we would still probably be up in Washington right now otherwise. So anyway, it's kind of all about, that's kind of a segue of what we're talking about anyway. I could have let the fact that I had no way home in the foreseeable future stop me dead in my tracks. But I chose instead to move forward with action. So that's totally what we're talking about here today, people. We are talking about feeling the fear and doing it anyway. All right. So, first of all, what exactly is fear? Biologically, it sets off all these different chemical reactions in our body. But did you realize, I'm not going to get sciencey, did you realize that it's the same bodily, it's the same functions, like reactions in your body as excitement. So ultimately, you are feeling literally the same thing in your body when you're excited. Maybe it's a roller coaster. Think about roller coasters. For some people, those are scary as hell. And for others, they're like, woo! And I used to be on the scary side, but now I enjoy them from time to time. But my point is that it's all an illusion, this idea of fear. In general, I'm not talking about, near-death experiences or things like that, but fearing the unknown, fearing success, which a lot of us do, most of us do, whether we realize it or not. Fear can be extremely tricky. You might not even think you're afraid, but you're still doing self-sabotaging behaviors. Let that one sink in for a second. You might still be having self-sabotaging behaviors because of this underlying fear that you're not even really consciously aware of. Now, there's all this talk about the imposter syndrome and, self-esteem. And I'm not saying that these aren't real things, but what's really behind that? What's behind it? There's fear behind that. But what if we could just lean into that fear and do it anyway? I know, I had to say it, a little corny, but I had to say it like that. Anyway, so let's talk a little bit about, like I said, what fear is. We all know, like, sudden fear, having to slam on the brakes because somebody stopped short in front of you in your car. Whatever the case may be, something just like scares you. Somebody jumps out. Movies, for example, that can be a fear. Those are all the obvious ones. But what about, these things that, like, we don't say yes to things and we justify, sorry, I'm just pulling on my own self. We just don't say yes to certain opportunities because it's the unknown or it's something that we haven't figured out yet. So, what's an example? I know so many people who say no to job opportunities or even entrepreneurship because they think that, that they're safe with this guaranteed paycheck. But here's the thing. If COVID has taught us anything, there are no guarantees whatsoever. You are not guaranteed tomorrow. You are not guaranteed your job. You are not guaranteed anything. You could lose everything in less than 24 hours. It's as simple as that. So I know we like to fool ourselves into thinking that we're safe, but are we really? Are we really and truly safe? The answer to that is unfortunately no, not in the way that we probably want to be. Right? So how do we look that in like that abyss in the face, and how do we just keep going forward? How do we even recognize it from stopping us from doing something? So I can't remember who said this, but I think it's a beautiful, I'm probably going to murder the quote anyway. So, and it was probably somebody like Brené Brown or somebody along those lines, but they said that if you don't have a little bit of pee trickling down your leg from fear, then you're not going big enough. So if you're not a little bit on edge or a little nervous or a little fearful, then you're not going big enough. And I love this idea because it's so much easier to play it safe. And, we've been talking about all these types of things and like dancing around the subject, but it's so important. And I really want to tackle it in all sorts of different ways. It's kind of like we're trying to avoid the fear. We're trying to avoid this feeling of being uncomfortable. And it's not all our fault. Our brain is literally designed to keep us feeling comfortable or choosing the more comfortable way of being and to protect us. So, being afraid of certain things has saved us in the past biologically. It's probably not a good idea to walk down a dark alley in the middle of the night in a neighborhood that is less than stellar, maybe even a nice neighborhood. Probably not a good idea. But does that mean that you don't take the job that you're offered because you don't feel like you're good enough for it yet? I know a lot of people who do that, and it's very, heartbreaking, I guess, because they haven't figured out how they're going to make it happen. So they just don't do it. Now, I'm going to give you guys a challenge. Are you ready for this? I want you guys to reach out to me on ownyourwellness.net, or you can reach out to me via Instagram. And I want to see who's up for this challenge, and whoever wins gets a prize. I'm just coming up with this now, so I haven't thought of the prize yet, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be awesome. And I'm just inviting you because sometimes that helps us move forward. All right. So, what I'm thinking is, why don't we do some sort of challenge where we say yes to something, even though we don't know how we're going to do it yet? How about that? I feel like, hi, Drew. I don't know who Mark Chester is, but hello. And for everybody who's watching, Drew is my fiance. Anyway, but what I want the challenge to be is saying yes to something that you don't know how you're going to accomplish it. And I'm going to give you the perfect example because I have one that just literally came up today. I was invited to film something on a red carpet, and I didn't know that I was going to, well, first of all, have my own film crew or any of that. And now all of it's last minute. So I have to figure out how I'm going to make this happen about 2 days before I'm supposed to do this. So anyway, I said yes before I even had any clue how I was going to keep this, these balls in the air. But it was such an amazing opportunity that I said yes, and I'll figure it out later. So I want to hear from everybody about what you are going to say yes to and figure out how you're going to get there after the fact. And whoever wins gets a prize. So reach out to me on Let's Connect, Jules Ann Meyer, or through my website, ownyourwellness.net. That being said, it is time for a commercial break. So we will be back in just a minute. Welcome back, everyone. If you're just joining us now, I'm Julianne Meyer. You're watching Own Your Wellness, and we are talking about fear. And you might be saying, well, what does being afraid have to do with wellness? Well, I'm going to give you a perfect example. I love stories. I think that they illustrate issues very well. And I know a lot of people who are, for example, afraid to lose weight because their partner is not in the best shape and they're afraid of upsetting that dynamic. It's not necessarily something that they're really aware of consciously, but they'll self-sabotage. They'll start to get somewhere and then feel like their relationship is changing, or not even giving their partner a chance to get used to who they're being now. So then they'll start gaining the weight back, and then they're just stuck in this holding pattern. So for those of you who weren't here before, I just want to say I am doing a challenge with everyone. It's going to be your New Year's challenge. I want to hear what you're going to go for, something huge, something big. What are you going to go for? What are you saying yes to without having any idea how you're going to accomplish it? I want you to just say yes and then figure out the details, right? And I don't know anything too much more than that. That's scary in my book. But anyway, you know, uh, fear is so funny because, like I said, I've been saying it, if I could speak, use your words, Jules. Anyway, if we all know, like I said before, that there's the obvious things that are scary, and maybe going on TV for the first time, the things that public speaking, that's a huge one. That for most people, they're just afraid of that. Whatever the case may be, there's always something for somebody that's holding them back from being who they want to be and showing up for, in the world, how they want to show up. But then there's things that you might not even realize it's fear behind it. And once you can name what's going on, you can look at it differently. If you don't know what it is, it's really hard to adjust and fix your actions, your reactions, and everything else. Now, for example, if I don't know, let's say you're writing a book for the first time ever. And that's a big accomplishment, P.S., by the way. Congratulations. If you are, or even thinking about it, keep going. Now let's say you go to sit down and write, and then all of a sudden you realize you've got to go clean the toilet or something like that. Yeah, you don't have to clean the toilet. It can wait the hour that you plan to write. It can wait. But it's funny how all of a sudden your brain will come up with all these things, and you'll be like, oh, wait a second. At the end of the day, I didn't even write. Well, what is that? That's not necessarily procrastination. It could be the fear. It could be the fear that it's not going to be good, it's that you're not going to be successful. I mean, there's so many different things that it could possibly be that are, behind that. So what do you do? I mean, how do you even recognize fear, like the underlying things, and how does it show up in your life? Well, there's a few things. One is like the imposter syndrome, where you feel like you're not good enough. Everybody around you thinks that you're more than capable of doing what you're doing, but you feel like as soon as they figure out who I really am, or as soon as they're going to realize that I'm not, the person for this job, or whatever the case may be, this relationship or whatever, unless, you're totally lying in a relationship, then that's your bad. But I'm referring to, like, somebody gives you a job, they gave it to you because they think you could do it. Or a client hires you because they think you can help them. Stop undermining yourself. Anybody who thinks that they are an expert, or doesn't think that they're an expert in something, everybody's an expert in something. The thing is that everything that you take for granted knowledge-wise like that you think is so simple, other people don't know. So you can break down, like, I'm going to give the perfect example. Everybody has parents, or at least they did at some point. And if yours are still alive, you might have to teach them simple things like texting, or how to check their emails, or how to, whatever the case may be. I was just at my parents' house, so I was helping my dad with his tablet, getting everything onto the front page so he could find it, or, figuring out where his contact list went on his email. These are things that I can find fairly easily, and most people can. But for my dad, who doesn't care enough to figure it out, he needs a little assistance. So there's always going to be something that you don't think is that important, that everybody knows, that you just take for granted knowing, that you think is common knowledge. And to other people, because my dad is not alone in that. You could be teaching classes on things like, being on the internet, for example. These are then you are an expert to those people. So, thinking that you're not good enough, it's like, not everybody is in your brain with you, listening to the way you talk to yourself. So, think about that. Keep that in mind, is that you're the one that's undermining yourself. It's not everybody around you. Like, it's kind of like, most people think that, and it sounds weird coming from me, but I know a lot of people who, at the end of their lives, they've realized how much they had to offer, and they really wish that they'd appreciated who they were while they were living, because they didn't realize how wonderful that they were. And, that's where the fear comes in. It's like the fear of being found out and all these, all these things, it's not real. It's kind of like turning on the lamp and realizing it's a coat rack in the corner instead of a big man standing there in your bedroom or whatever. We got to turn the light on, right? We got to turn the light on and make it less scary for everyone. So how do we do that? Like I said, you've got to start looking at your behaviors. Anything that's like, you go to sit down and write, and all of a sudden you want to watch this Netflix show, or all of a sudden you feel really tired for, no reason, and you need to go lay down, or you're justifying only doing half of what you said you were going to do. All of these self-defeating behaviors are fear. That's it. We don't need to know. Like, it doesn't even matter what kind of fear it is. It's just fear. And once you know what something is, it's kind of like, okay, I see it. I can do it. It's turning that light on. So, like, if you're on a roller coaster, like I said before, you're expecting to feel that fear. You're expecting to feel the ups and the downs and the excitement and all these things, and maybe feel afraid for your life a little bit. But ultimately, you're going to be okay. So it's okay for you to go onto that flight, or onto that roller coaster. So what I'm saying is that if we can change the way that our relationship with fear is, and turn it more into an excitement as opposed to something that stops us dead in our tracks, then we're going to up level our lives so much. Oh my goodness, right? So I'm like beyond excited about this, because there are so many different ways we can do this. Now, I normally save this for my book picks, but this is the title of the show, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, by Susan Jeffers, PhD. I don't know if she's even still alive. This book is like from the 70s, but let me tell you, this thing is golden. So what she talks about is, what we're afraid of and why, how to move from victim to creator, which is the thing I want to talk about, and the secrets of making no-lose decisions. Because the thing with no-lose decisions, or not making decisions, is not making one is making one. So why don't you choose what you want instead of going by default? You know what I'm saying? So it's really that simple. It's really that simple as choosing for yourself. Something is better than nothing, because you're still choosing anyway, right? So the thing is like, if we can change our relationship to fear and change it more into like an excitement, then it makes it easier for us to move forward. And I'm talking about like the fear that's really obvious, that like you feel it, you're about to go on stage and you feel so nervous. If you can be like, oh my gosh, this is exciting, it makes it so much more fun than you're going to throw up and bomb, Sorry. I was just thinking about certain people that really does happen with them. But anyway, So what can we do? So as I mentioned before, our brain is wired to protect us. And if we're feeling fear, it's going to keep us from the good and the bad. But remember, yeah, it'll keep us from the bad, but it does keep us from the good. So I think it's time for us to actually go to a commercial break. I was not paying attention, but it is that time. So we're going to be back in just a minute. Welcome back. All right. So, sorry, a little slow on the uptake. I had so many things going on in the background here, but so here's the thing, we're talking about fear and all this stuff and like recognizing it for what it is, and how it can show up, like I said, in procrastination and self-doubt and all these things. And we're not even really aware of it. I mean, that's where our self-sabotaging behaviors come from. What's the quickest way to actually deal with the fear? I know it's going to sound really simple. Action. It's as simple as action. That's all you have to do is take action. Take action, move forward, move at least somewhere off the starting block. You like the trying to be perfect from the get-go is impossible. Like we look at all these people who are extremely successful. And like, look at Oprah, for example, amazing example of awesomeness. And she didn't start out as like the Oprah icon. She started out as a news reporter, on some station that said that she had no business being in broadcasting and that she should find some other work. She started somewhere. Even the Oprah show, when it first started, she was doing like sensational types of topics. So what I'm saying is that you're going to grow and you're going to change into who you're going to be, but you're not going to get from A to done in one fell swoop. It's going to take you many iterations to get to where you want to be and who you want to be. So expecting perfection out of yourself will paralyze you with fear because, like even me doing this show by myself, I don't feel as comfortable doing it because I'm kind of like a little talking head, but I'm doing it because it will get better. It will be better and it's going to get, improve. I'm improving. Everything is improving because I'm willing to look like an idiot. And not saying that I do, I'm just saying that I'm willing. So anyway, sorry, I always crack myself up. And that one was for me. But the point though is that expecting like this perfection out of yourself from the very beginning is always going to stop you right in your tracks. So expecting to have, if you're growing your own Instagram or your own TV show, your own podcast, any of these huge ideas, you still start out with zero. And to expect yourself to go from that to millions is, it's a great goal and you should definitely go for like dream big, go big. But you don't expect it right away. Expect yourself to grow and change and your needs and your wants to grow and change as well as you kind of figure out what doesn't work. You're going to have to figure out what doesn't work in order to figure out what works. I mean, think about like Steve Jobs and Apple, like all these things, all these different trials and errors. Not everything is a winner. Not everything works 100% all of the time. There was still a time where everybody still has to get going. So expecting yourself to become a millionaire overnight just because you have a great idea is really unrealistic. And then when you realize that that's not possible necessarily, and that's when you stop, it's such a waste of your talents. It's okay to feel the fear. It's okay to not be 100%, not be perfect. But if you are making actionable steps towards where it is that you're trying to go and what you're trying to do and who you're trying to be, you're going to get there. You're going to be successful no matter what. It might not go exactly the way that you planned. I had this business coach. I mean, he was like $10,000 an hour, something like that. I just lucked out and got a free session with him. But anyway, he was talking to me when I was doing an online summit. And he said to me, now just be open that this, your company that you're just, growing into is not going to look anything like you plan it to look like. So just be aware of that in the very beginning so that you are not so hard on yourself, that you're open to different ideas. And that's the thing. It's like, if we are stuck in how things are supposed to look in our mind, then we're never going to be open to the possibilities that are there. We're never going to see these other opportunities. We're never going to move forward. We're never going to, we're going to be thinking inside the box, in other words. So my challenge, once again, I'm putting it out there for everybody who's watching. I want you for the new year to pick a challenge, pick something, or say yes to something that you have no idea how you're going to do it. And then write to me, Jules Ann Meyer on Insta, or you can get to me through my website. All my information's on there as well. Big prize I haven't announced it yet, like I said, but I want to see what you guys can come up with. I mean, this is 2023. If you're going to do any sort of, challenge for the new year, this is it. It'll scare the crap out of you. You're going to do it anyway. I mean, really, what's the worst that can happen? There's a saying in AA, which I adore, and this is going to make me sound really old, but it's called play the tape through. And the purpose of that is, like, for somebody in addiction, is like, if they're going to go out and use again, if they're going to go out and drink again, what's going to happen after that? How are they going to feel? How is it going to affect their lives? All of these things. Now, you can do that with anything in your life and play out worst case scenario. And then you'll see how ridiculous your fear actually is, because really it's not that big of a deal. What you're afraid of is what you don't know. But the reality is we really don't know anything. We think we do. We think we're safe. We think all these things, but it's not real. All we really have is right now, people. We all know this, right? So anyway, at this point in the show, I am going to do my book face. All right. So y'all know, if you were watching before, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, which is exactly what we've been talking about. This book inspired me years ago. I haven't read it in a really long time, but it's an oldie and a goodie by Susan Jeffers, PhD. Definitely worth reading. It just kind of makes fear seem silly and really shows, little actionable steps. And it shows you that there's really no right or wrong answer to anything. It's just different consequences. That's it. You're just on it. It's kind of like a choose your own adventure book. It's not wrong to choose one thing over the other in general, but it's kind of like choosing your own adventure. What are you going to be on? Which adventure are you going to be on next? All right. So this is a really, really good book. Get Out of Your Own Way. So this one by Mark Golston, PhD, and Philip Goldberg. This is such a good book. Practical lessons for conquering procrastination, fear, envy, neediness, guilt, and more. It all comes back down to these basic emotions. Now, part of the thing that I really, want to mention is that we think we're like the center of our own universe, or we're the center of the universe. And the reality is that we're just looking out onto this world, and not everybody is paying as much attention to what we're doing as we are. So, if we can be aware of that, then it makes life so much easier because we don't feel like we're on display. So nobody really notices or cares what we're doing anyway. Right? They're going to remember the good stuff, and they're going to remember the really bad stuff, but they're not going to remember any of the in between. And to be honest, most of us do most of the time in between. So if you can take some of that pressure off of yourself, it makes life a lot easier. Like, if you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do? I mean, it's a question that you get asked, or at least you'll see it on Facebook, you'll see it all the time. But you know, really, what would you do? Because is it failure ever? It might be because it didn't turn out the way that you wanted it to, but is it really failure? So that's something that I definitely recommend, is thinking about, like, is it really failure, and playing the tape through, right? But anyway, this book, I'm coming back to it. Get out of your own way. Really, it's the one thing that's stopping us, right? So it's all self-defeating behavior, and they're all like basically basic needs. Now we have like all this negative connotation behind and meanings. We make these things mean something, like fear and envy and all of these things. But what if they're just passing through us and we don't hold on to that emotion? Like, envy could show us that we're not being grateful. We could show it as like an indication and be grateful for it, because it's like, oh my gosh, look at who I'm being. Or fear could be, you can turn into excitement, or realize that you're on the right path because you're feeling fear, right? So there's just ways that, that's why this book is really good. All right. The next book that I want to share with, and this is an oldie but a goodie too, is The Gifts of Imperfection. See, Oprah loves it. Brené Brown, let go of who you think you're supposed to be and embrace who you are. Your guide to a wholehearted life. This was such a good book. I think that back in the day, when I had no money, and I think I was like going to the bookstore and like reading books because I couldn't afford to buy them. I think this was one of them. I could be wrong because my sense of time is off, but this is such a good book. And the reason why I wanted to share this one is because we are talking about fear. And part of it is like being perfect. Now, if you're so worried about being perfect, then you can't actually relax into the moment and make good choices and move forward. Because like I said, to get rid of the fear, you need that action. Action is the number one way to get fear. Like, we think that once I'm courageous, then I will do it. But it doesn't work that way. You become courageous because you do it. So if we can change our idea of, like, fear should make us stop, as opposed to I'm on the right path. You know what I'm saying? Like, it shouldn't stop us. It should be the thing that's indicating, okay, I'm going in the right direction. This is scaring me. I am growing as a human being. I will get there. I'm going. So that's what you want to do, is start changing your perception of fear, changing it to, I'm on the right path. I'm doing the amazing things. I'm going to figure it out. And there's no such thing as failure as long as I get up again. Other thing with COVID, it taught us, is pivoting. That used to be my word. Now it's like freaking nails on a chalkboard. You can't keep doing things all the time. And, hi, Mark, by the way, you made it to the show. You can't keep on doing things the same way every single year and expecting to get the same results, because time changes. So you have to keep moving forward. So like, the way you marketed your business in 1996 is not going to be the way you market it 2023, for example. So trying to keep things exactly the same, first of all, it's stupid. Second of all, it doesn't really work that way. But, that fear of the unknown, that fear of, am I going to fail? Well, maybe it won't work out the way you wanted it to, but that does not mean that you did not do a good job. So Hello, I'm going to put you up there. Boom, boom, boom. I'm guessing you want to do is pickleball buddies. Anyway, for those of you who are watching us on TV, this is Mark, and he is joining us for the first time. And so I want to always give a shout out to the new people that are watching on social, because I can't get all y'all on TV for comments. But anyway, back to what we were talking about, fear. Ugh. I don't even like that word, right? So how can we change that? It's really simple. Like I said, it's an indication that you're in the right spot, you're going the right direction, and to get over it, you got to get through it. It's really that simple. So my last book recommendation, and this one is a little interesting, but it's a good one. It is There's Nothing Wrong with You, if you can read that. Going Beyond Self-Hate by Sherry Huber. Now, Sherry Huber is actually a Zen monk. I know. How did I end up with this book? How did I even discover her? Well, my cousin actually spent years at this particular monastery and learned from her. And one of my first coaches actually was from the same monastery, and they knew each other. And I just happened to meet him randomly. So talk about small world. But anyway, Sherry writes this book about There's Nothing Wrong with You, and it's going beyond self-hate. And the reason why I wanted to share this book in particular on this day is because fear, it also has to do with, like, our feelings of lack of self-worth, lack of ability, the same thing with the imposter syndrome thing that I was talking about earlier. If we can just love ourselves more, I know it's a little touchy-feely, but the reality is that then we won't feel so afraid. Like, if you think about little kids, they're not worried about how they look. They're not worried about all these, they just go out and go for it, right? They're not afraid of failing. They just want to go have fun and do the things that scare them because it's exciting, and we can always take lessons from that. But anyway, back to this, There Is Nothing Wrong with You. This book in particular shows you, like, that voice inside of your head that's always condemning you, telling you to be afraid, telling you that you're not enough, telling you that you suck, and all of these things. It shows you how to see that for what it is and not to take it personally. It's kind of like you take this voice and externalize it so that it's not you anymore. And that way it could just be some person yapping in your ear, and you're like, no, thank you. I don't need to hear what you have to say. I'm not interested in you. So it does help you move beyond, those feelings of lack of self-worth and things like that. So I do highly recommend her book. And the whole point of that one too is being compassionate towards yourself, right? I mean, when was the last time anybody was compassionate towards themselves? Like, for example, Drew and I were trying to, as you guys know, fly home from Washington State, and our flight got canceled. So instead of me, well, actually, if you were at the beginning of the show, that we went right into action steps and were able to get a car and to get home right away within 24 hours. We'd still be up in Washington State if it wasn't for that. But of course, my mind is going into, well, if we hadn't had to go up and see my parents, then we wouldn't be stuck here. And then Drew wouldn't be late to, for his clients, and all these crappy ass comments going on in my head over stuff that I have no control over. I'm not the only one who does this. Every person does this. So, let's think about that. Let's think about how stupid and crazy that sounds. Now, if I externalize that, I'm just like, shut up. I don't even need to, hear what you have to say, because it's not helping me. So if we can do that with ourselves more often, we'll have a lot more self-compassion, and we will be able to move forward and not let fear stop us. Now, the other thing too, this is what just came to my mind as something that is super important. A lot of the time, fear will stop us in two ways. One is not having enough information. So if you can educate yourself, fabulous. And, that's just little things like learning how to, I don't know, make things automized in your business, for example, like, so you don't have to send out individual emails for absolutely everything. That might be intimidating, but you can figure that out. Now, that's fabulous. That's one way to work through the fear, is to actually educate yourself. But here is the caveat about that, and people don't realize is you could get stuck in the gathering information mode, which is another form of fear, indefinitely. Like, how many books on meditation do you need to read before you actually meditate? Right? I love to use that example. You're not going to get the meditation benefits through osmosis. No, I'm just kidding. Um, Actually, you will because you'll be sitting there. But my point, though, is that reading about it and learning about it indefinitely is not action. That is just sitting on your laurels and not actually doing anything, which, as we mentioned before, the best way to get over fear or move is to move through it and do it anyway. Just move forward, pick an action step. It doesn't even have to be big. It could be something really, really tiny. That would be, maybe if you're afraid to go to the gym because you're overweight, then maybe it could be putting your shoes by the door for a week just to get yourself getting towards there. Then you're building like those good feelings in your brain, and like you're getting those dopamine hits because you're completing tasks, things like that. You're going to get there. Who said it had to be yesterday? You know what I'm saying? Like, just make a step, move forward. You can keep learning and keep growing while you're making steps and moving forward, right? It's okay to mess it up. Nobody really cares. So anyway, I have been chatting for a minute, and it is time for a commercial break. So we are going to be back in just a minute.
Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversation. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
Welcome back, everyone. If you're just joining us now, I'm Julianne, and you are watching Own Your Wellness. And before I go any further, the last commercial made me think of something that I want to share with you guys. And that is that I am starting my own network called Achieve TV. And I am looking for people who are entrepreneurs and want to share their knowledge with the world and make a difference. So if you have an idea for a show, or you want to be a guest host on somebody else's show, reach out to me at ownyourwellness.net, and I will set up a phone call and talk about the different ideas that we have in mind for you and where the network is going. So talk about feeling the fear and doing it anyway. I didn't know I was going to be a network president, but look at me now, right? So anyway, I just wanted to mention that. I'm going to plug that because that I just want to bring edutainment to the masses. And if you are somebody that has something that you want to share, I would love to have the opportunity to share that with you and for you. So let me know. Anyway, we are going to be doing a fast food segment. All right. So I didn't do an actual food thing because what I want to share is verbal. So, with the new year coming and everybody making all these goals to eat healthier and be healthier and all this fun stuff, like, how do we do that? And it can be a little overwhelming. And so I wanted to bring to your attention the idea of doing a food service for a short time or indefinitely. Usually you get bored with the food service. So there are so many good ones out there that you can choose. And a lot of them have discounted prices in the beginning so that you can see if it's really a good fit for you. And, there's ways to work around that. Then you could start, maybe using the meals interspersed with your own while you're learning how to cook for yourself. If you're more, further advanced, you can get somebody's service like, if you guys don't know Rich Roll, you got to check him out. He's an amazing super athlete. He happens to be vegan, and he has like this meal plan service that he'll send you recipes and you can make it yourself. And they're not hard. I belonged to it for a really long time. And then I got too busy. I didn't have time to cook as much. So it didn't make sense for me to, be a part of that. But the point is that if you want to eat healthy and start off your new year correctly, then you got to set yourself up for success. So if you want to set yourself up for success and you're not really sure how to do it or how you want to eat, my biggest recommendation for you is to try a food service and see what you even like and what works for you. Because there's nothing worse than buying a whole bunch of like weird products and, like xanthan gum. I'm just throwing that one out there. And then being like, what am I supposed to do with this? Like for somebody who loves to bake and cook, that might be a great idea. But for somebody like me who wants really healthy and I want it quick and I want real food, it's not going to be the best choice. I always have the best intentions, but it doesn't work out like that. You know what I'm saying? So, if you're not sure exactly where your next step is, then that's what you can do. The other thing that I would recommend is if you are planning on doing a cleanse of any length or whatever, first of all, make sure that it's okay through your doctor. And then the other thing is use that time to figure out what your next step is. Don't just go back into the way that you were eating before unless it was already really good. Maybe use that time as a reset to maybe reintroduce some new foods or, take some time off of something so you can see if you have a sensitivity to it. These are all things that you can do so that you can figure out what works best for you. All right. So that is my fast food segment. All right. What's up next? How about some tips and some tricks? Okay, back again. All right. So, speaking of having like an idea that something is really obvious or, that everybody knows, that kind of thing, not everybody does. So, y'all familiar with a water bottle, right? How in the heck do you clean this thing? Have you ever tried to, squish down a sponge in there or even one of those old fashioned, it's on the metal thing and it looks like a toilet brush? Well, I got this one and this thing's amazing. It's soft. It goes all around on the insides. I'm telling you right now, this thing I'm not going to stick it in there because it's in use right now with water, but just to give you guys an idea. So it can just get around sorry, that was loud, around the inside edges really nice and easily. So something like this was like maybe, I don't even remember how much it was. It wasn't expensive at all. It was under $10. And it was a great stocking gift. Actually, I don't think it went in the stocking. But the point is that you can easily clean your bottles with one of these. And then you're going to feel nice and fresh. Oh my God, it makes such a difference. All right, next up is going to be an odd one, but you'll understand why I'm choosing this. In honor of my car experience. Actually, I'm going to go with this one first, and you'll understand why it made me think of the next one. All right, so what is this thing right here? This is a tiny bitty air compressor. All the stuff is in here, right? I don't even know how much, and this is a flashlight. This thing, I'm telling you guys, is worth it. I don't even know, like it might have been $50, maybe, but you put it in your, and oops, I'm trying to break things here. So you can even do like exercise balls and things like that with this little guy. And then there's this one too. So there's different attachments, for lack of better terminology. Anyway, you can get this thing for, I don't even know, $30, $50, something like that. Put this in your car. If you ever have like a flat tire or a going flat tire, you could just pull over and take care of your business right there. So now you know why I chose that one, because of my 23.5-hour car drive experience recently. So because of that, it made me think of this one. Now, this is anti-fog, and it's Rain-X, so it's intended for your car. And this thing was really inexpensive too. I got this at I don't know, like O'Reilly or something like that. I'm sure you can get it pretty much anywhere. It's not something I was looking for. It was one of those what's it called? Impulse buys. And because of my inside windshield fogs up all the time and it drives me bananas. But anyway, yes, it works fantastic for inside your windshield. So please, if you want to use it for that, please do. But you know where else it's really good? The other place it's really good is in your bathroom. When your mirror fogs up after taking a shower. I even have a fan in my bathroom. Most people do, but it still doesn't do the trick because my showers are so hot and I probably am in there too long. So anyway, put this on your bathroom mirror and you will have success where there is not going to be all that fog. You don't have to wipe it down. There's not going to be the little drippy marks, any of that business. So that is my recommendation. All right. So anyway, I hope you guys feel inspired to feel the fear and do it anyway. And, pick something exciting to do. Pick something that scares the crap out of you that you just are like, okay, I'm going to do this. It scares me, but I'm going to do it, right? Do that. You can do it. I promise you can. And let me know what the results are. And maybe we could even have you on the show. That would be really fun. So remember, feel the fear, do it anyway. Speaking of fear, sorry, I got allergies really bad. I've got a book coming out. I've mentioned it a couple times, but I am a co-author on a book called Achieve Wellness, which is amazing. And it's going to be out hopefully, just in time for the new year. So if you want to get a copy of it or see what it's all about, reach out to me and I will get you some information. But there's, I think, 21 of us authors, and we're each talking about different steps to wellness. And it's not just broccoli and burpees, as my show says. So anyway, I just want to say thank you, everyone, for watching us. We will be back on Monday. God, I think that's New Year's. So we got to figure that one out because, it's New Year's. Anyway, everyone, I just want to say thank you again for watching. Happy New Year, and we'll see you again next year. How exciting.